Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the return of MAME Politics. Very happy to be back, to see everybody, to say hi to everybody. Um, can you hear me okay? I feel like I've lost my broadcasting technical abilities that I have gained since I started doing this. Um, so can everybody hear me okay? Sound levels okay? Everything good? It's great to see everybody in here. Hey Andy, hey Oz Whistles, hey John. Uncle Robbie is here. Uncle Robbie present. If you guys didn't hear, um, I have a nephew now. Abby had her first child. Um, God, I should probably know the exact date. I don't. It would happen on Sunday. Very exciting. That was sort of the big secret that I was alluding to. Um, and yeah, it's very exciting. Um, and I'm just gonna say hi to everyone else before I get started. Hey David, hey Modus, good to see you. Hey Furious Psyop, my trusty mod. Thanks for congratulating me on becoming an uncle. Hey White Seed, hey Steven, hey Soul Man, hey Tom, good to see you. Thanks for the compliment on the intro. Hey Bird Worldist, hey Set Shot, hey Jinx, hey Terra Toddler, hey Adam, good to see you. So yeah, I think I said hi to everyone. And yeah, sorry if I'm making lip smacking noises. I had to eat something right before I went live. I didn't eat anything today, and I wanted to be in a good headspace for the return of MAME Politics. Um, so in case if you got here a little late, you might have missed that MAME Politics now has a new intro screen. Featuring a theme song by Brian Ellis, aka Dusty Cart. Brian Ellis, you may have heard of him. He is actually part of Egyptian Lover now. He actually is as a big part of the compositions on some of Egyptian Lover's new stuff. He appears on the new Egyptian Lover album cover in painted form. It's pretty cool to watch his trajectory take off. But this is actually an older track. It wasn't made for MAME Politics. It was sort of made in the style of NBA Jam. And I figured that it kind of had a newsy vibe to it, almost like a broadcast TV intro music. So I thought it would be perfect for the show. And yeah. And the reason I bring up the intro screen is because I am having a contest where you will win a prize. If you like the kind of music that I do, this would probably only interest you if you're actually into electronic music. You will get a prize of 4 releases from Record Label Records, my record label, physical copies of them. If you can guess every single video game featured in the intro screen. So the first person to name, in chronological order, every game video featured in the intro screen of the new MAME Politics will win a prize. So if you want to take a stab at it, please do so in the Discord chat, and I'll drop the link here now just so you remember what that was in case you missed that. We now have a continuous chat going that's just MAME Politics on Discord that's just going all the time. Let me see, how the fuck do I actually share it? You know what? I don't even know how to share the link. I'm a dumbass. I'm going to try to share this. I don't even know if this will work, but I'm going to try to do it. You might need to get invited in. Here. So there's the Discord channel link. I think that'll work. So yeah, a lot of crazy shit's been happening since last did an episode, right? I mean, we thought that the pandemic was going to be sort of the major defining event, I guess, sort of our lifetimes moving forward, and oddly, it isn't. Um, it's just things are moving at such an accelerated, intense rate. It's hard to get a handle on everything right now. Hey, Bayonets, good to see you. Hey, Manny, great to see you. Um, so yeah, obviously, you guys probably already know where I stand on the Black Lives Matter police brutality protests. Um, I am definitely not, you know, this is, and I'll just say this right up front, and I'm sure you guys have already seen this, is I am annoyed at leftists who always find a way to opt out of having solidarity with Black Lives Matter by coming up with all these different reasons. Like, I'm seeing a narrative right now that it's some kind of color revolution, globalist, destabilization attempt or something. Or, um, that because corporations are getting involved in the Black Lives Matter movement, that it's somehow illegitimate now. Um, I see it in a similar way to how when a lot of generic Democrats and generic establishment people started actually going against the Iraq war, that doesn't lessen any importance of pushing for the end of the Iraq war. Um, and it also doesn't mean you have to have like solidarity with the celebs and the generic politicians who are disingenuously opposing it now. You just have to accept that, yeah, there's mainstream acceptance of this now. It's gaining momentum, and it's not necessarily a bad thing that'll some kind of co-optation of a movement. Now, there is the argument of co-optation of movements is a real thing that needs to be addressed and needs to be sort of fought against. But I don't really see this movement being co-opted yet. I see it more like the corporations, the mainstream media sort of acquiesce to the narrative that we're going to support this movement as long as it's really, really, really peaceful. As long as it's super peaceful. The messaging is that, honestly, the messaging I'm getting, and I don't even know if this is, it can't be intentional, is that the rioting, the property damage, the destruction, even some of the looting actually brought enough focus to this and enough attention that I think that honestly, like, people in charge got scared, and they were like, okay, fine, we'll support Black Lives Matter as long as you stop being non-peaceful. I know that's not the overt message that they're sending out, but I believe that is sort of the indirect messaging. And if you really look at it, it's the mainstream liberal media's version of that, like CNN, MSNBC. The internal, sort of the indirect messaging they're sending with that is very similar actually to Fox News and the right-wing media, which are also saying, they're sort of even acquiescing to the idea that George Floyd was extremely horrific, unnecessary death, it was police brutality, and peaceful protest is good, as long as it's really peaceful. Fox News, of course, has a lower threshold for when a bottle gets thrown, they'll start calling everything rioting. But at the same time, I was talking to Leslie Lee yesterday for a new episode of Media Roots Radio, and he brought up the good point that maybe we should actually embrace the term rioting. I mean, if they're basically going to call anything where it's a protest, where one window gets broken, where one person spray paints a cab, where somebody throws a bottle at a cop, if they're going to call that a riot already, then what's the point of even trying to argue against that? It's like, who cares? Like, oh, so what? It's a riot. Yeah, this is an infuriating situation and must be stopped. That police have this much crazy hubris in this country and are taught and ordered to act like this. There needs to be a little bit of rioting, I think. I think it's totally appropriate. Now, I also find it interesting that, a lot of conservatives are sort of mocking, and I could understand too that the mainstream media sort of accepting these protests suddenly when they were so, pro the lockdowns right before is obviously hypocritical, of course. But it needs to be said that protesting the lockdowns, while maybe you do believe, and I agree with it in part, that it is a violation of civil liberties. Protesting that is, in some ways, it's a selfish expression. You are protesting your rights, personal rights being infringed on. Having solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement, especially if you're not black or not a person of color, I think, especially during a pandemic, it's kind of a selfless thing to go out. Like right now, I'm going to be fully honest. I am too scared still of getting sick of COVID-19 to want to be in a giant crowd of people right now in public. It's honestly, the prospect is too scary for me. I will admit that that is my weakness. I'm not a good activist in that regard. However, I do think everybody who is going out on the streets right now, you kind of have to, commend them a little bit. And it is heartening to see people willing to risk their own safety to, push this issue. So I think that needs to be seen as one of them is kind of a selfish form of protest, and then another one is kind of a selfless form of protest. Now, I'm not saying that all of these people are empathetic, big-hearted people with the best intentions. I'm sure some of them are doing it for woke points, but that's besides the point. I think, I hope I'm making sense. Yeah, David. France burns shit down at most protests, says David. It's how they get concessions. Burning the precinct in Minneapolis is why the cops are in jail. Absolutely 100% correct. Absolutely. Same with burning police cars. I mean, I think that the media wanted to conflate like burning police cars with looting, and they were probably able to do it easily because there were, video footage of black men like burning and like fucking up a police car. But those are two totally different expressions of what's going on right now. I would say looting, more or less, is always something of people taking advantage of a chaotic situation. Destroying property, especially police property, police cars, police stations, I mean, that shit is totally badass and completely in line with, like, aggressive resistance. And I completely am on board with that shit. I think it's hilarious that conservatives and even like, what's his name? Not just conservatives, but there are people lamenting the death of a police car more than George Floyd. That it's like a horror. It's like, I think it's just a scary image to people to have a police car on fire. That they just can't handle it, and they feel more sorry for a burning police car than they do a dead black man, who was just being asphyxiated on video. White Seed. I don't think that the current iteration of protests will lead to any... Well, actually, no. I think that it already has led to a shift in the conversation, White Seed. Because you'll even see right-wing media completely acquiescing to the idea that George Floyd was murdered and that this guy who was sat on his neck should be in jail. That is actually like a kind of a shocking shift. The same right-wingers who mocked Eric Garner, for basically being choked to death. I think White Seed, what's actually very, very optimistic and heartening about this situation is that it speaks to that whatever that energy was that was like underneath the Bernie movement, that a lot of, like hardcore sort of socialists or leftists were supporting him. I think that what's happening is this is another illustration of a very strong sentiment that's bubbling under the surface that sort of spilled over in this expression. It could have even been something like in the vein of Occupy. I think it happened to be Black Lives Matter this time. I think it's going to spill over again. I think it's definitely going to spill over again. And I think that every time this spills over like that, we should see this almost like as a mini victory. Try to ignore all the co-optation and the Democrats trying to, act like they have solidarity with it, and just look at the concessions that have been made. The police being arrested, all these corporations. Yeah, it's cynical. it's disingenuous. But the fact that they're all being like, yes, we support Black Lives Matter, that is like an interesting shift in a concession. Like that is a big deal. Now, will those same corporations support Black Lives Matter if in a week from now 5 police cars get overturned and burned? That'll be awkward and interesting to see what, if they have to release a press release saying, oh, this got too violent for us, we have to sort of renege our solidarity. They're kind of in a weird position right now because they've committed to having solidarity with this movement, yet it's still, to me, unpredictable. I don't think the Democrats successfully did co-opt it. I don't think that the protests or the corporations successfully did co-opt it. They want people to stop rioting. They want people to stop the chaos. They definitely do, and I think that that's part of why they're having solidarity with it. White Seed, I disagree with that. I think that protests already have had an effect on like a national and even potentially global level in this specific regard. I mean, even just seeing European countries talking about Black Lives Matter is really fascinating. I mean, I think that is a huge shift. Yeah, JNNX. I mean, I could understand how things feel sus, but, I don't see how it helps Trump necessarily. I don't see how this helps Trump. You mean like if he has the goal to like send the troops in and arrest everybody that will sort of quote unquote force his hand? I don't know. I'm not sure what you mean, but I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you that going through a national global pandemic, being terrified, fear-mongered by that, and then having this happen right after, it does feel really intense and things feel heightened. And there are co-optations of this movement happening. But underneath all that, what exactly do you feel sus? What feels sus to you? I just want to speak to that because I understand that to a certain degree, but I want you to point to something specific. Because even the COVID-19 lockdown stuff, I've seen a lot of smart people that I really agree with most of the time, like Peter Phillips, for example, posting articles on Facebook that to me have a really reductive, oversimplified narrative about why the COVID-19 lockdowns is sort of like a globalist conspiracy. And I think that that's not that I'm saying like don't say that. I'm just saying if you're going to say that, I feel that you need to flesh it out with some really specific things. Like Whitney Webb, for example, in her article went into a similar realm, but she was very, very specific and went after very specific people. Now, some of these other articles I see floating around seem to want to just say that it's all Fauci, it's all the WHO, it's all Bill Gates that caused this global hysteria. I just don't buy that. I really, really think that that's a very oversimplified narrative. That's basically the plandemic narrative. And I just got to say that, like, just, it's lazy. It's simple. It's lazy. And I'm seeing too many people that I really respect falling into this easy answers reductive narrative about what this global pandemic situation actually was. And how we've been sort of controlled and fear-mongered by it. Like, if you're going to talk about how this is all done to bring in some kind of global government or global tracking system, specifically hone in on, like, the global tracking system, the track and trace thing. Who is behind that? Who's going to make money off of that? I'm just kind of bummed out that, like, the conspiracy narratives that we see in the Trump era are so reductive, cartoonishly base level, and not very smartly fleshed out. With the exception of very, very few researchers right now digging into some of these conspiracy cracks, like Whitney Webb. I mean, it's shocking to me how many people gravitate towards these very easy answer cartoon conspiracy narratives right now. It bums me out. It really does. It bums me out way more than when the Bush administration was in power, when everybody would just say that Dick Cheney was behind every conspiracy. That actually makes more sense because, yeah, he's crazy. He's a neocon. I mean, but it's still reductive. You know, a lot of the 9/11 truth narratives were reductive in that sense, where it was like people could easily strawman it and be like, oh, you think Bush demolished the World Trade Center, you fucking idiot? You think Dick Cheney pushed down the plunger, you stupid fuck? You truther fuck? No, no one really thinks that, but people did gravitate towards the easy answers in that situation. I mean, Cheney definitely had his fingers in everything, John. Yeah, that's true. But I think you know what I mean, right? I think you know what I'm talking about. I'm offending you. Why am I offending you, John? What the hell are you talking about? You can tell I'm being sarcastic, right, John? Are you being sarcastic? I hope you are. JNNX, the truth movement was co-opted from the very beginning. Well, maybe not literally the beginning, but I mean some of the very, very first major viral 9/11 movies were total disinfo. 9/11 in Plain Sight was, in my mind, one of the biggest sort of viral 9/11 documentaries. They actually had it like for rent at hipster video stores in New York. Like when conspiracy theories actually used to be the realm of like anarchists, like left-wingers or like black radicals. Like you would find 9/11 conspiracy documentaries in like video stores like that. And I remember getting 9/11 in Plain Sight 2003 in New York, and instantly I knew about half of the movie was total bullshit, but actually the other half of it was really interesting to me. And I remember even thinking back then that, like, yeah, a lot of this seems like just wacky nonsense, that why would they even put this in the movie? Eric Hutchman's film, I don't even remember how to pronounce his name. Oh God, Modus, that's awful. I'm so sorry to hear that. I am so sorry. Yeah, Tom Collector, I like that too. Yeah, John, that too. Terry Masson's book was disinfo. Also, a large part of it was, 29 languages it was translated to. That. Yikes! Wow. I mean, yeah, Alex Jones did do a lot of damage, but I mean, I think some of these actually predated, um, his own work. I think. You blame Oliver Stone for mainstreaming conspiracy theory, like, is that and negatively? I mean, because I think that maybe should be looked at positively, is the mainstreamification of the JFK conspiracies really actually changed the national dialogue again about the assassination. Um, there was a period in the 70s and in the early 80s where there was a resurgence in like researchers, and it was popular again, and then it sort of died out again, and the JFK movie by Oliver Stone really actually did bring up the conversation again. And actual national polls taken before and after the movie reflect a change in people's belief on what happened in that assassination. So, I mean, the only thing I would say agree with you about as maybe it's bad is that there were some things in that movie that were a little far out, that wasn't the most thorough sort of research.
But by and large, the movie JFK is very, very thorough, very smartly done. It would be really difficult. I mean, try doing something anything remotely like that with 9/11. If you can imagine narratively how Oliver Stone was able to put together all those pieces from all these different authors and theories into that whole narrative, because he didn't just base it off of Jim Garrison's book. I think people misunderstand that the movie is actually based on multiple books at once. That's really, there's only what am I trying to say? The I don't even remember what I was saying, but yeah, Jim Marrs' book, Secret Rulers of the World, I think it's called. I blame that Mel Gibson for that movie Conspiracy Theory. That movie is like, it's so close to being a good movie that it's frustrating. Like, it has all the elements in it to make a really good movie, but it has this really extremely overwrought dramatic tone to it, especially towards the end with Julia Roberts and stuff, that makes it like just kind of a hokey mess. But I mean, Patrick Stewart plays the villain in that movie. And if you want to see Patrick Stewart playing a villain, definitely check out Conspiracy Theory. Definitely check out the movie Green Room if you haven't seen it. If you have a weak stomach and you have trouble watching violence or gore, I would avoid Green Room. But if you are sort of craving a horror movie, an intense horror sort of thriller with gore, with Patrick Stewart as the villain, you will not be disappointed with the Green Room. There's some shit in that movie that honestly I haven't ever like felt that way watching movie gore. So, like besides maybe watching like an ISIS snuff video, it's fucking crazy. Like nobody even gets like decapitated in it or anything. It's just like the visceral nature of the gore in it is like not movie like. It seems almost like the people who made the movie like studied real death footage and were like, we want to like turn people's stomach with this shit. And I have not seen Imperium. What is that? Is that a movie maybe the same guy? Triox, I think you might be listening on an extreme delay. Uh, Maybe you're not. Maybe you're just commenting on something later. Try to catch up to the live chat. Um, you know what's funny? You guys are gonna laugh at me for this because I constantly talk about how annoyed I am with bad conspiracy stuff. I mentioned this on the bonus episode of Media Roots Radio, but I've actually been watching Bigfoot shit on YouTube. There's a terrible show that is a guilty pleasure of mine called Finding Bigfoot on like National Geographic. Somehow been on for 12 seasons. It's almost worse than those ghost hunter shows. And it's hilarious. And I fucking love it. And I just love how specific some of these the Bigfoot lore is. And a lot of it sort of has to do with why they never find Bigfoots. Like they've never found like a corpse. But I mean, it's just really funny. And also I mentioned on the podcast that there's this Bigfoot hoax guy, who name is Todd Standing, who is the first guy to record like videos that he claims are of Bigfoot's face that have somehow gone viral in the Bigfoot movement. There's a bunch of people who think it's real. There's a bunch of people who think it's fake. But you have to see the video that he took, because what's hilarious about it is it literally looks like the guy himself, Todd Standing, dressed as a gorilla, like with like movie makeup on. It's his face. It's pretty funny. Anyways, it's fun to get into kind of an innocent conspiracy thing that's not political and that doesn't have any like partisan political aspect like at all. So maybe that's why I'm even checking any of that shit out. Oh, I've heard of that movie, actually, Modus. Daniel Radcliffe. Yeah, that sounds good. You know, it's a really good Daniel Radcliffe movie that I feel like doesn't get enough praise, and that was like, I guess like booed at Cannes Film Festival. It got first mentioned in the press as the farting corpse movie that got booed at Cannes. Um, I think it's a wonderful movie. It's by, I think his name is Daniel Kwan. He's a music video director. He did the "Turn Down for What" music video, that crazy music video where people are like bursting through their floors of their apartment. He made a movie called Swiss Army Man with Daniel Radcliffe, where Daniel Radcliffe plays a corpse, and Paul Dano befriends the corpse, and the corpse comes to life and continually is farting throughout the movie, is getting boners. It's a really weird. I wouldn't even really describe it as a comedy. It's a completely nonsensical, like almost like Dadaistic movie with like a weird, strong, emotional, like heart center to the movie. If that makes any sense. Like it has like this like weird uplifting music in the movie. That's like the character singing the Cotton Eye Joe techno song, but like humming it to himself, and it becomes like the music for the whole film. Like the melody to Cotton Eye Joe, but it's like hummed, and it's like it's just a really interesting, weird movie. I think it's great. Yeah, Scruffed World Order. The Patterson Gimlin footage. It's interesting because I didn't realize that a lot of people over time have said it's actually like more better proof in their eyes than like anything than like. So if you looked at the original video footage, it's very jerky. It's not very clean. But people, there's actual upscaling video stuff you can do now. So I'm gonna upscale the video, cleaned it up, destabilized or stabilized it. Sorry, and it's actually really kind of creepy. It kind of reminds me of how someone did a stabilization cleanup of the JFK assassination video. Did you see? Did you guys ever see that? The Zapruder film was combined with photographs and actually another film that someone else took of the same area of Dealey Plaza, and someone did like a compositing job on the assassination footage and made it look like super clean and stabilized, and it's like really, really creepy, and you could actually tell much easier that he was like shot in a crossfire. And I'm actually kind of surprised that video didn't get more traction. It was actually in the news. I think it got some mainstream media attention, but I don't see it on YouTube anymore. I don't really see it pop up anymore. But somebody did the same treatment with the Patterson Gimlin Bigfoot footage, this famous Bigfoot footage, and it's actually pretty creepy. If it is a guy in a suit, like I don't think it's a real Bigfoot. It's a really good suit. So, pretty impressive that like the first mainstream hoax Bigfoot video, the suit or whatever, however they did it, like really holds up. Cotton Eye Joe is definitely a sign of the apocalypse. Apocalypse. Speaking of apocalypse, John Gold wanted me to talk about Justice League Apocalypse, which was fucking great. If you're in the mood for a DC Comics epic cartoon and you enjoyed things like Flashpoint, definitely check out Apocalypse. It's incredible. My only complaint about it, John, is that of course it's the new 52. And I wished that DC Comics, the films, would be like, fuck the new 52, let's just go back to the pre-new 52 shit we were doing before. But instead, I don't know why they're so fixated on pushing the new 52 that I'm worried that we won't see like a classic animated DC movie ever again, unless they revert back to it or something. Correct, John. You are correct. It opens a door to a reset, which maybe that was the point. Maybe they're like, well, this is the last New 52 movie. Let's fucking hope it is, because I'm sick of seeing Superman without the Speedos. I don't like the younger, naive Superman. I don't like the fact that he's with Wonder Woman. Um, there's things about it I do not like. The characterizations I don't care for. Um, I, you know, I would be really, really pleased if they just, why don't they just do like a Justice League Unlimited movie and bring back like the cast from the cartoon? I mean, even people like Mr. Fantastic and stuff, like weird, like obscure characters that would hang out on the Watchtower. You know, Steel. Let's bring back Booster Gold. Like, let's like assemble a team of Justice League people that are not like the flagship characters. You know, I'm sick of seeing Hal Jordan. I want to see Jon Stewart. I want to even see Guy Gardner instead of Hal Jordan. Like, I'm sick of Hal Jordan. Like, we've fucking had enough of him. There's like 4 different Green Lanterns. I do, Tom. I really do. Scuffed World Order. I would agree with you mostly, except did you see Apocalypse? Because you should see it if you haven't. It is really, really good. Oh yeah, Green Arrow too. I mean, fuck, he's so good in the Justice League Unlimited cartoon. I don't think they've done a better iteration of him since the TV show. Um, and if you guys want to go back and read like actual Justice League is probably my favorite. Not necessarily comic book title, but favorite like superhero thing. Um, and there are 2 particularly good Justice League runs. One of them was done by Grant Morrison, who's kind of like a guy who was, I would argue, is very inspired by Alan Moore. He did a great Justice League run in the early 2000s, I think late 90s. And then also I want to say Kevin DeMatteis. There was like a comedy, kind of like slapstick sitcom vibe Justice League run that started in the late 80s and went like for a few years. It has Booster Gold, Blue Beetle, Lobo, Big Barda. Batman is actually in charge of the Justice League. And he's almost like the vibe in the comic book is I think is great. It's almost like Batman is a grumpy babysitter in this whole run of Justice League, and it's fucking perfect. Because it actually kind of has the same vibe as the cartoon. The cartoon was very inspired by this particular run of Justice League. Superman's not in it. The mainstream heroes only guest. Yes, J.M. DeMatteis, exactly. That run is fucking awesome. And other than some of the Golden Age, Silver Age Justice League stuff, I think it's probably the best. The Grant Morrison stuff is also good, but the art in it fucking sucks. I don't know who did the art during the Grant Morrison run, but like, it sucks. It really does. Justice League International. That's right. Yeah, I have the big book of the omnibus version from DC, which I guess a lot of hardcore DeMatteis fans said was a total travesty. Which there were like some mistakes in the art when they reprinted it. They missed some text bubbles and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not a hardcore enough fan to care. I'm just glad to have everything in one omnibus because I never really got a chance to read the whole series. And oddly, as a kid, and Mom, if you're listening, I want to give a shout out to my mom. She got me into comic books as a kid. She would buy me randomly comic books and like bring them home from the grocery store, like random titles that they weren't even things I would necessarily into. It was like she just was trying to introduce me or just like show me cool looking comic books that she would sometimes buy for me at the store. That's how I heard of Swamp Thing. That's how I heard of Justice League. And I remember her getting like more DC comic books, and I don't know why. but that's kind of how I grew up on this stuff. Like that's how I kind of fell in love with it. Like my mom bought me the issue of Swamp Thing and Batman fighting in Gotham City, and I remember just that the cover of the comic was so cool to me. Like it like inspired me to like draw and do art as a kid. It wasn't even, I don't even really remember if I picked up on the story back then. Scrub for Order. No, I did not see the Superman Red Sun movie. And, I kind of. Actually, wait, did I see that? No, I did see it. I thought it was okay. I thought it was okay. It was. No, it wasn't. It wasn't awful, but I never really read or had any appreciation for the original Red Sun storyline. So maybe if I did, I would have found it more of a travesty. Yeah, JNNX. I remember that too. Even as a kid, some of the things my mom would bring back for me, I'd be like, they were really intense. Like I remember even there was a Justice League International um, issue that she brought home for me, and somebody could probably know exactly which cover I'm talking about because some of the covers for Justice League International were like based on real photographs. They would have a real photograph of an actor and like draw it. And the cover of this particular one was like, looked like Blue Beetle, but like a real actor being photographed, drawn as Blue Beetle with like someone putting their hands on either side of his face and like melting his face with like acid hands. And his skin was all burning like smoke, like coming off of his face. And it was just like a really visceral, kind of violent, gory image that was on the cover of Justice League International. I remember as a kid, like I didn't know it was supposed to be like a funny comic book. I was just like, whoa, this is crazy. And I remember also my mom happened to buy me a random Batman comic book. And it happened to be that issue where I think it was Jason Todd actually murders a guy. He throws him out of a window or something. And I remember like as a kid thinking that was like really fucked up. Like I didn't understand my understanding of Batman was just like the Adam West TV show. So to like just randomly open up a DC comic book from like 1987 where it's like gritty, Batman, with the blue gray costume, and then like Robin offs a dude because he's pissed off. I was just like, what the fuck? Like that really it kind of like messed me up, honestly, as a kid. But I'm very thankful for my mom for getting me into comic books back then. Am I wrong, John? Was there a comic book? Was there an issue of Batman where Jason Todd like murders a criminal like out of a window, and Batman's just like, "What the fuck, Jason? Like, what happened to you?" Am I imagining that? Oh, Final Crisis is absolutely incredible. Grant Morrison, that is his best work, other than maybe, I don't know, but I think Final Crisis is underrated. A lot of people think it's too abstract. I think it's the greatest thing he's ever done, and honestly, one of the coolest reset, sort of apocalyptic events in all of DC Comics history. I think it's more interesting than the Crisis on Infinite Earths, all that other stuff. To me, it's the one that really like hits me. Spoiler alert. Well, actually, this is weird because I didn't realize this. Spoiler alert. If you get Final Crisis and you get a copy of it, try not to look at the cover too much because literally on the cover they actually spoil the ending, which is a weird choice. I guess they're maybe assuming you've already read the graphic novel, but spoiler alert, if you have not read Final Crisis, mute this now if you don't want to know the plot. But Batman dies in Final Crisis, and it's a heroic, badass death. I mean, Darkseid kills Batman, and you can imagine exactly how he does it. And Batman basically figures out a way to he either finds or makes a bullet that can kill a god, and he shoots Darkseid, knowing that he's going to be instantly obliterated, and he dies. It's fucking beautiful. And Superman gets like teleported to a different like alternate universe where he's like trying to put things back together, and it's hard to explain. But there's even some Watchmen stuff in there. Like there's a version of Superman from an alternate universe who looks almost like Dr. Manhattan mixed with Brainiac, like this giant blue guy. Superman has to fight with Ultraman, the evil Superman from the alternate dimension who's got like roid rage, like neck veins popping out. I mean, it's fucking great. And the superheroes who are sort of left on Earth to like fight shit, and like fight off the invasion are like obscure superheroes. They're like not even like mainstream ones. I even forgot his name. It's like the DC Comics hero who has the tattoos that come to life is one of the guys who's like left to like actually like defend the planet. I think it's wonderful, and I would die if they made that into a cartoon. It would be super abstract. It'd be like an art house cartoon, like the first like art house superhero cartoon. If they made Final Crisis into a fucking animated movie. JNNX. Speaking of Valiant Comics, do you remember those amazing Nintendo comics that came out under the Valiant imprint? I think it was before Valiant actually even started doing like Bloodshot and all that shit. They had Nintendo comics, Game Boy comics, Captain N, Zelda comics, Mario comics, and the artwork in them was like top tier. Like it was great. Great. I didn't see the new animated Phantom Stranger, John. That I missed that one. I need to see that. You guys would laugh if you saw my I sent John a photo of my new toy collection. I finally properly set up all my DC animated DC characters, comic book action figures in a case. Maybe one of these days I'll put it behind me or something while I'm doing this. You guys ready to play some fucking games, dude? Guys ready to play some shit? You know what this shit is? Do you know what this shit is? So if you're not familiar with this game, it was the sequel to Mario Land for the Game Boy. And if you haven't seen Mario Land, it's a weird-ass game. The graphics are really wonky. Mario, it almost looks like a Tiger Electronics game. Nintendo wasn't even confident enough about it to package it with the Game Boy, which is strange to think that their own franchise, their most popular franchise, Mario Brothers, that they would not package. They'd never released a Game Boy, to my knowledge, with Mario Land. If you had a Game Boy growing up and you got the bundled version, you probably remember it came with Tetris, which is very odd, actually. But this game kind of came out after I was already sort of out of the Game Boy. Like, I didn't really care about the Game Boy anymore at the point this came out. But this was the point in the Game Boy's history when shit went off. Like, they were putting out games for the Game Boy that actually, like, were just as good as the Nintendo games. And they were completely unique. So, like, this game, Super Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins, was released for the Game Boy. It was an exclusive sequel to Mario Land. And it introduced a lot of things that later appeared in other Mario games, like the bunny ears power-up. It actually has the screw attack jump, which I think that was stolen from Mario World. But this actually might have come out first. Maybe someone could correct me on that. And yeah, the game is great. I barely played it, so that was actually part of the point of doing this episode today. Is interesting. It's the darkest Mario game. I gotta check that out. So I've only like played maybe this for 10 minutes, and I was already really impressed with it. And even though the gameplay feels a little wonkier than other Mario games, the gravity is different, the traction is different, you get used to it very fast. So let's check it out. Yeah, the gravity feels really strange in this compared to other Marios. Oh, and I should also mention that this is not the original Game Boy version. This is a hack that someone made to run on the Game Boy Color. So the original version was in black and white. This is a Game Boy Color upgraded version. Oh, shit. I love this music right here. I feel like this one has the best invincibility music. Oh, yeah. So in this one they actually got rid of the... See that? You can do the screw attack jump. Or whatever that's called, the twirl jump from... And bullets break bricks in this too, which is new. I don't think that happened in Mario Land. So in Mario Land, the original, the bullets were almost not... It wasn't like a regular fire flower. The bullets actually acted like a bouncing ball. And they could collect coins. And it was like a ball. It wasn't a fireball. Also, for a Game Boy game, I mean, look how fucking advanced this is. This has an overworld map that looks like better than the Mario 3 overworld map. I don't even know what the fuck this bonus game does. Alright. Wait, what? I lose my fire flower? Fuck that shit. Okay. I don't even know what I'm doing here. Oh, tree zone. Interesting. Okay. Cute music. Wait, what? Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. This fucking Kaizo block, motherfucker. So, I wanted to announce to you guys, I already did in MAME Politics chat, but if you're not in there, MAME Politics Discord chat, I mean, I am going to be changing the schedule of MAME Politics. This is not just a one-off return episode, and I'm going to disappear again for another month. I promise you that. We are going to be doing, let me make sure I get this right so I don't fuck up my own plan here. MAME Politics. MAME Politics will be on at 2 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And that's going to be the regular schedule moving forward. But that will leave room for bonus episodes, extra episodes whenever I feel like doing them. Probably either Friday or Saturday will be the episodes where we'll do two-player MAME Politics. Those ones might be randomly announced. They won't be consistent. But Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 2 p.m., there will be an episode on all those days at that time. And basically the plan is every Monday we're going to be discussing a specific subject that I have sort of thoroughly researched and planned out. It's going to be kind of more like an interactive podcast on a specific subject. We're still going to talk headlines, of course, because it's, you know, coming right after the weekend, so we'll have some of that. And I have it sort of scheduled out of what subjects I want to talk about. I'm not ready to announce that yet. But every Wednesday, we're just going to be talking about what's in the news, what's the most pressing happening, and obviously live chat. And then every Thursday will sort of be a free-for-all where I'm just going to wing it, talk to you guys, not really come in with a plan, and it'll just be a Q&A, whatever, kind of a thing. So if that sounds good to you, if you guys have any like comments about that or feedback, let me know. And in case you didn't hear me before, I am doing a contest. So once this episode is over, rewatch the intro to MAME Politics, the new intro screen. And if you can name every single video game in the intro screen in chronological order, then you will win 4 CD or vinyl. Well, let's say it could be 2 CD and 2 vinyl if you want, or 4 CDs. But your choice of whatever, 2 CDs, 4 CDs, or if you want to do 1 vinyl, 3 CDs, 2 vinyls, 2 CDs, of anything from my record label Records, that I still have in print. That will be your prize if you guess all those. And also, right after this episode, I will be making available an exclusive release by Brian Ellis, the composer of the intro song. He released a whole album of FM synthesizer style music called Dusty Cart, and he is going to make those available to all of my patrons right after this episode is over. So I'll post a download link to it there. It used to be a free release on my website years ago. Him and I agreed that he wants to sell it now. It's his music, completely. It's totally understand why he'd want to do that. I actually encourage him to do that. I think all musicians should make money off of their creations. And so as a treat for us, he is giving us a free download link to that for all of the patrons who subscribe to my Patreon page. Will get the whole release. It's no longer available on my website. It's an excellent album. He's a genius. I mean, there are other people who have made retro FM synthesizer music, but I honestly think Brian Ellis is the best. Hey, Mike, how's it going, man? So let's get back to let's play some of this shit. Play some of this fucking 6 golden coins. So already I can tell that the level design of this game is odd. Like, it's very linear. It almost reminds me more of Mario Brothers 1 than 2 or 3. I don't know, it's strange. It's a strange game. Can I not jump on that fucker? Oh, I can. What are all these weird enemies? Yeah, these are like weird enemies too. It's almost like the game developers must have been really passionate about putting new enemies in the game, because like I'm not excited about these enemies. I'd rather just have like fucking Goombas, turtles. These enemies are lame. I'm just gonna say off the bat, I don't care for them. The frogs, actually the frogs I can understand. They jump around, kind of makes sense. I want the fucking bunny ear power up though. How the fuck do I get out of here, dude? Fucking kidding me? I feel like you almost need the enemies in this game have like fucking dude. They have like annoying behaviors that the fire flowers actually really comes in handy for. Shit. You can't jump as high as even Mario in the original Mario game either. Running jump doesn't seem to do much. I mean, it's kind of cool. It has interesting gravity when you do like a chain jump off of enemies. Ah, fuck. Stupid motherfucker. Stupid motherfucker with a corkscrew nose. It's funny how Nintendo never got in trouble for... Remember how even The Sopranos got in trouble for doing a Italian stereotypes? Fucking shit. Did Mario ever get in trouble for that? And is there any, I know this is going to sound disgusting, but is there any slash fic, like Japanese Mario sex fiction, where Mario's like an Italian dude with like a giant dick? Like a sleazy Italian dude who just wants to fuck everything. Is there a Japanese comic book like that? What the fuck is that? It's like a cowfish? Weird. Oh, fuck! This is a weird structured type of level. So you don't really swim, you just float in this goo? I can see what you mean, Tom Collector. It does feel sort of dark. There is a weird darkness to this game. It's hard to explain. It's not like scary, but it is kind of like unsettling. What the fuck? Wait, what? Oh, fucking shit. I guess that's the checkpoint, the little bell. What I want to know is, did this game come out before Mario World for Super Nintendo? Because it has weird... Oh, shit. Son of a bitch. This is a very weird level design. I hope this is the only level like this, because I do not care for this at all. Son of a bitch! That felt like a trap to me. Mario, Luigi, Japanese cuck porn. So I think I already talked about this on Main Politics, but... And I think I also stole this concept off of someone else. I can't remember who said it first. Fuck! But... how come they never made a Super Mario Brothers the movie, the game? So what I'm imagining in my head is Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo actual digitized sprites like Mortal Kombat style. You know, with like Dennis Hopper as Koopa. And like all the same actors and assets from the movie digitized in the same gameplay style as Mario. That's what I want to see. Is Super Mario Brothers the movie, the game, with like gritty Mushroom Kingdom, like weird, whatever the fuck they were trying to do with that movie. It would be an awful game, but I think it would be pretty funny. I hate this level. This is the worst level. I do not like this level. And I'm mad. From what I've heard about the making of that movie, is that Japan just wrongly assumed that, oh yeah, it's like the most popular video game franchise. Obviously Hollywood, you know, will do a good job on this. They were so horrified by what the studio did to the game to turn it into a movie that they like literally reneged any licensing deals for films ever again. I don't even think Nintendo allowed. I think they finally just opened the door again for like making 3D animated Mario movies or something. Like after like 30 years. Interesting, Tom. That makes sense, yeah. What's weird though about that, Tom, is didn't they actually make Game Boy Color ports of Mario 2 and Mario 1 that were like perfect? Like I'm a little bit confused about that. Like, was the Game Boy Color like an actual more advanced system? Because how were they able to make, you know, like a perfect Mario Brothers 1 port for Game Boy Color when they never were able to get the gravity right, like on Mario Land 2 even? It's kind of strange. Because this, I mean... Fuck! Okay, I'm not going to fall for this again. Oh, you son of a bitch. Oh, dude. That is really upsetting. Oh, shit. Oh, this is the worst. This is the worst. If it only wasn't... Can I just play the regular Mario levels? I don't want to play this shit. Oh, this is awful. This is the worst. I hate... This is seriously the worst level ever. And there's gonna be spikes there. I knew it. You fucking idiots. Troll bastards. Okay. Was it just more memory, though? Oh, interesting. It's shrunk, yeah. Well, they did a really good job of making it look like it. What is that a level right there or no? What is this beehive shit? Alright. I'm sure a level with a beehive is gonna be a shit ton of fun. But nice hip hop. It's too bad Mario Maker 2 is a total cocktease. Sorry to use such a crude term, but like every like Kaizo Mario game you see, or like most of the good Mario hacks you see, they always use like interesting enemies. Like they have the dolphins that push you up that you can use as platforms. They have those little like football, what are those guys called, those chucks, those like football helmet guys that you have to jump on like 3 times to kill. Mario Maker 2 is missing so many of those like essential Kaizo classic elements that it's like bizarre. And I just think Nintendo are idiots for not making it like a fully fleshed out Maker. Because there will still be... They could have actually probably won over that community of people and made them transition over to Mario Maker, but instead, like even me, who's like barely into this stuff, I was trying to make a Mario Maker level, and at a certain point I was just like, can't even do half of the stuff I want to do in this. I can't find half of the enemies I want to find. Why don't I just make like edit this on a ROM hacking editor? And I open one up, and it's actually pretty easy to use. It's almost just like Mario Maker. So, yeah, Mario Maker, a lot of potential, really great idea, even though it's basically just stolen off the fan communities. It's just bizarre that they would not... Like, I would even be one of those idiots who buys like expansion packs for it. You know, if they just released like 10 new enemies a month or something, I'd buy that shit because that's how much I'm into it. So it's weird to me they wouldn't even try to monetize it that way. This fucking bee. What? I can't kill the bee? Fuck that shit. I have to jump on him. That's kind of cool. Wait, it's a skeleton bee? Wow, so he comes back to life? Wow, that's interesting. Weird. This game has a lot of enemies in it. Why is it... Wait, the fuck? Wait, that guy is a... Weird. Why does it have so many different enemies? What a weird game. How do I do that jump? Do you know how to do that jump, Tom? Is it just down and jump? Is that how I achieve that? Oh shit, I lost it. Okay. And maybe you can answer me, Tom. Did this actually come out after Mario World for Super Nintendo? I'm actually kind of surprised that the Game Boy... Oh, God. That the Game Boy can handle those pipe transitions. Like that it... Because it... Oh, weird. Wow, I already... Did I really die on the 3rd level? Get a game over? Damn. That was rough. Oh, okay. Well, luckily I have a saved game, right? Right, guys? Okay, let's play a different level so I can give you some variety at least. Oh, yeah, Chibi Jason Voorhees. I have seen that before, Tom. Totally. Which, do you remember which level that was in? Oh, fucking shit. Are you serious? There's no floor there. Shit, you can't corkscrew those fuckers? So let me guess, the whole level is suspended in air. It's one of these fucking deals. Okay, oh shit. It's gonna take a leap of faith. Fucking shit. Fuck. Okay, I'm gonna go to Pumpkin World. That's where it is, Horror Zone. Okay, so Tom is telling me something cool that I remember reading about this game before. Is that unlike other Mario games, you can literally go anywhere at the beginning, which if I was a kid, I would have been so stoked at that. And it's also hard. It's hard. This game is not as easy to pick up as like Mario World is. And you guys might not know this, but they originally designed Mario World for the Super Nintendo to be like Mario 2, the original for Japan, where it was actually supposed to be like 4 expert players. They significantly toned down the difficulty of the gameplay like just a few months before it was released. Oh, cool. The do-do-do-do music is really cool too. This is the right world, right, Tom? Oh, fuck. I need the fucking bunny ears. There it is. Yeah. Fuck yeah. So this is the first time this power-up made an appearance in any Mario game. Oh, cool. Disappearing blocks. That's fun. That's always the most fun in a video game. At least they're not like the Mega Man ones. That's... I remember playing Mega Man 1 for so long trying to beat Iceman's stage with those disappearing blocks when I first rented it as a kid. That shit was so hard. Fuck. Wait. God damn it. Wait, is this just a loop now? It's like a horror stage? So it's got puzzle elements to it. Interesting. This is like the ghost house. Fuck! The friction is fucked. I forgot who it was in this chat who informed me that the guy with the hockey mask on in Road Warrior predated. Holy fuck, dude! Wow. Yes, it did introduce Wario, Tom. I've heard that as well. It's pretty cool. Okay. What is this shit? Is this my house? Wait, what? Excuse me? Okay. I'm going inside myself. Fuck yeah. I'm gonna get up in Mario's guts. Got some Castlevania aesthetics going on. What the fuck? Yeah, those pipe transitions are impressive for Game Boy. That they just smoothly go like that. Fucking shit. Ah, that's cute. You have to like, so you can't even. Oh wait a second. Fuck! Oh, okay. Cute little challenge. Wait, what? I don't understand. Can I not? Can I kill this? Oh. Wait a second. Weird. Okay. Shit! I like how much control you get over it, though. This is cool. It's kind of like the raccoon tail in Mario 3. Oh, fuck. Here we go. We're in Mario's balls now. Wait, do I have a mushroom all of a sudden? Wait, the fuck? Why are there so many weird bad guys? Jesus, these colors are weird as hell, too. What a weird game. Can't say I'm the biggest fan of this game. It's just weird how they're trying to make it really different from other Mario games in certain ways. It's interesting because like they made the engine so solid, they could have just made like a Mario 3 style game, but instead they chose to do this. Or sort of put some weird spins on the formula that I don't really know if I like it. It feels more basic than it needs to be, I feel like. Weird. It's kind of ball. What the hell are these? That's why you lose your fire flower when you get a... That's really interesting. That's not what I would expect. You lose your... It does not happen on any other Mario game. Weird. Fuck, dude. I have to wait for that ball to go all the way back? You're kidding me. Jesus. Alright. Slightly nudging me off the ball a little bit, maybe? Can't tell. metronome on Mario's mouth. Nice music. What the fuck is that? Wait, what? Dude, this game is just... I don't know what's happening. A jack-in-the-box in another block came out of the block. And some guy in a business suit started running after me. What the fuck is happening here? There's like a toy soldier or something. What the hell? Wait, what? That is so weird. I'm just so confused right now. Yeah. Some of those portable games, they don't, it definitely, you don't get the same out of it playing it on an emulator. I was trying to play some Atari Lynx games on an emulator and just sort of remembering how cool and weird the original Atari Lynx felt. Like the screen style. What the fuck? I don't even know. Oh, you son of a bitch. The bullet bills go way faster than they do in other Mario games. Am I wrong about that? What the hell? Jesus Christ. Oh! Well, I think that might be it for Mario Land 2. The search for the 6 golden coins. So yeah, it was really good to see everybody again in here. So before I go today, I'll just hang around a little bit in the chat. If anybody wants to ask me anything or bring up any subjects. Any other Game Boy Color games I should check out, Tom? Were there any like official Nintendo games that were not remakes for the Game Boy Color? Did they do anything like that? Or even just the Game Boy in general? I've never played any of the Mega Man games, the Contra games. Castlevania is kind of cool. Steven Stern, I can't say when I am releasing part 4. Obviously, it's been significantly delayed from the original release date. I feel like the window of time that I originally wanted to release it in sort of came and went. So right now, there's not a specific release date for it, but I still plan on putting it out. It's always changing. I have discussed the subject with the chat a few times. About what direction I plan on going with it. I basically had to scrap about a half an hour of already put together content that sadly became very dated and almost irrelevant within 6 months of making it. So I made a mistake in the direction that I originally was going in with the sequel, the 4th installment. But I feel that now it's pretty clear to me what the sort of narrative is going to be that'll have a more timeless quality to it. Yeah. So Balloon Kid, interesting. That sounds cool. JC, go back and rewind it. You should be able to rewind it. Yes, there is. Well, there's a Metroid 2. That's what's really interesting is the Game Boy actually had like exclusive sequels. Metroid 2 for the Game Boy was a new Metroid game. Um, they didn't do the same thing with the Mega Man or the Contra game. They called them. There was a Contra game after for Game Boy that came out, I believe, after Super C did for Nintendo, but it's not the same game as either one. It actually has one new weapon that's not in the other games. It's a little more basic, but it's really similar. It looks actually better than the like. They made a Castlevania game too for Game Boy that was exclusive, and that game is a little wonky. I would say that it doesn't even really play as nicely as Simon's Quest or the first Castlevania game. Contra, a game that Konami put out for Game Boy, actually does play just as good as the Contra game for NES, which is surprising. That they somehow nailed the formula of the Game Boy conversion of that one, but not the Castlevania one. I mean, politically, are you guys experiencing anything like what I'm experiencing right now, which is sort of confusion? Because, like, I don't really know where I stand on this pandemic thing anymore. And I think I mentioned this before, but I am worried that even if there was even just a little bit of overhyping and fear mongering behind it, which it does seem like it's pretty clear that there was some of that, that it will vindicate the people who just had a knee-jerk reaction, that they fucking thought it was all a hoax or that there's no reason to worry. Like, in some ways, that sort of knee-jerk reaction against authority might have been more correct in this instance. And that's the part that upsets me. Not saying because people should not have a knee-jerk anti-authority response, but I don't even know what I'm trying to say. But you guys, I mean, I'm glad some of you, it seems like some of the other people in this chat are feeling a similar thing. Jod Gold says it was a power grab class war, I believe. I still don't understand what's happening. Well, I think looking at it capitalistically might be the only way to really zoom out from it and really understand who might have been driving this. Who made the most money off of these shutdowns, off of this amount of hysteria? Who made the most money off of it? If we follow the money in this instance, I feel that we could make a strong argument here that some of these people who are making the most money off of it were also hyping it up and fear-mongering people as well. A takeover in the sense, Jan and X says, I feel like this is a takeover. I mean, it is. It could have created, or it could still create, some kind of fire sale situation for a lot of the predatory capitalist class to come in and buy up a lot of small businesses, real estate, whatever. That's definitely true. What's a hostile merger mean, Jan and X? I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with that term. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Adam G says, I feel like it was a drill for a bioweapon not released yet. LOL. I mean, it might sound like a crazy theory, Adam, but honestly, my brain keeps going there too. Because how did it spread so fast? And did it, like, has it gone away already? I mean, I don't know what information to believe anymore. And it really did sort of make a lot of people respond in a certain way. I mean, even if it wasn't deliberate release, Adam G, it's still a test run. Because now somebody who might want to deliberately release a bioweapon knows what the response could be, generally speaking. Has a better handle on knowing how people will react, knowing how many people will be too scared. Knowing that even the fear would work on someone like me, who has heavily researched the anthrax attacks and how that is some kind of false flag terrorist attack that was designed to create hysteria and get us to all buy into the war on terror, and it worked. It didn't work on me, but the level of fear of this did work on me this time. That's what's disturbing to me about this. So, having said that, if it was sort of a test run, then there's a lot of valuable data to be gained out of this situation for sure. And that is disturbing. So that, I mean, I could totally understand that. Adam G, I mean, I don't think that it was to divide people. I mean, if they wanted to do something to divide people, they would do something a lot more like partisan fodder. If it was deliberate, if this was some kind of deliberate event, then I think that the goal would be to see how complacent people all over the world would be to obey some kind of vague orders, to like not leave your house or to wear a mask everywhere. Not saying that wearing masks is a conspiracy, because it does really bug me that conservatives are like acting like the mask part is like the most upsetting part. To me, that's the least upsetting part, because it makes sense why, if there is a virus going around that's brand new, that spreads really fast and that's lethal, to wear a mask. I don't have any like shame or embarrassment about wearing a mask. People in Asian cultures don't. It's an oddly specific American thing where we're like, fuck masks, like we don't need to wear that shit. So God, I don't even remember what I was saying. But I think in general, if you're looking at this from the perspective of this is some kind of test run, this is some kind of way to see how people would react, if that was the purpose, there's a lot of valuable data to be gleaned from that, and to see that more or less, for the most part, everybody will sort of be complacent and obey these orders. No, Adam. I hope I didn't sound like I was knocking your point down. I mean, I think I completely understand why you would be thinking about that. I mean, just examining the psychological component to this, I think in and of itself is interesting. How everybody reacted to it, how the coordinated level of reaction. To me, it's almost a different thing to be like, here's who's responsible for it and here's who's behind it. Like some of these articles I'm seeing coming out, like from Global Research, that are, to me, just reductive. They're blaming Fauci, they're blaming Gates, and that's it. And they're sort of making the narrative comfortably sit in that realm. I think it would be smarter to just write an article about what psychologically this has done to us and how people in power could use that psychological reaction for something much worse. Because you don't even have to necessarily say here's who's behind this agenda in terms of wanting us to all get scared over a bioweapon. You could just look at anybody who wants to seize more power of the population. So, I don't know. Global PTSD, Oz whistles. It's true. It really is true. I don't think in the modern age we have experienced something like a global traumatic incident like this before. David, I mean, it's not only delegitimized government, I feel that it's also delegitimized, which is unfortunate, sort of scientific consensus. More like it's further eroded because if I'm sitting here now more skeptical of scientific consensus than I was 6 months ago, like the medical community at large, that's not good. I'm not conservative by any stretch of imagination. I'm not a science denier. I believe in climate change. I believe in evolution. I believe in most scientific consensus on pretty much everything. So to have an incident like this actually make my faith in sort of the general scientific consensus falter to this extent, it's kind of alarming to me. What is this going to do to other people if it's actually having this effect on me? Even though I'm a walking contradiction, I'm still wearing a mask. I even will still wear gloves sometimes when I go outside if I'm handling a lot of things and I don't want to wash my hands. Um, I even still wipe down my groceries. So I'm sitting here saying that the scientific community had overhyped this, but also still very much in a state of being very cautious still. Terror Toddler, I think in this instance, it's hard to distinguish the two. Because, I mean, I don't know how to distinguish the two in this case. Yeah, the war on intel, I mean, it almost is like a perfect setup for this idea of like false realities in the war on intellect to just continue getting stronger because a lot of people were wrong about the gravity of how bad this would be. A lot of people were wrong. I don't know anyone who has COVID or who got COVID personally. I speak to Jordan Cheriton sometimes over DM. I know that he got tested positive. I don't think he was hospitalized. Besides him, I don't know anyone. We were being told that I was even watching YouTube videos, and these aren't scientists, but these are like popular YouTube accounts who were saying, we need to expect this is going to be a really difficult time for everybody, that someone is probably going to die by the end of this from COVID. It has not touched people on that level. It just hasn't. A lot of people in New York have died. I'm sure it's definitely touched a lot of people. Over 100,000 people have died. But yeah, I mean, so there'll be a lot of people who would argue, well, it's better that we overreacted to it. Then that's why the curve got flat and that's why it went away. So there'll be people arguing sort of on both sides of that. And I honestly don't know. Not saying that the people who knee-jerk reacted to it were right. I'm just saying I don't know which side of that argument is actually correct. Oh, geez. Yeah, that's awful. Yeah, David. Well, thank you for saying that. Maybe I'm just in a bubble then. Maybe I'm letting my own sort of this isn't personally affecting me sort of blind me to this situation. I mean, obviously you guys are telling the truth. People who have died from COVID. And that's sad. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you sure you had it, John? Did you actually take a test? I didn't. I wasn't aware of that. Oh, I see. You're joking again. Sorry, I always fucking don't realize you're being sarcastic. So you know many people who have gotten it. Steven Stern says, "I live in Brooklyn and I don't know anyone who died from the vid." Um, did you guys see? I usually don't find this stuff funny at all, but there was a trending hashtag on Twitter like 5 days ago, I think, that was hashtag 5G Corona. And I don't know who originally made the hashtag, but it was just like a joke hashtag. When you clicked on the trending hashtag 5G Corona, the top tweet was 5G Coronas got my bussy boppin', which it was, I found it pretty funny. So, um, at least people can or have a good sense of humor about this still. Has anybody here been to the protest, the Black Lives Matters protest yet? Well, I'm gonna wrap this episode up. Thank you again for sticking with me through this hiatus. I know some people probably lost hope that the show would return. I noticed we have slightly less viewers than we had on the last episode, which is to be expected. We've been off for over a month. So check the MAME Politics Discord for the schedule again if you missed my announcement earlier today. And also, if you are a Patreon subscriber of mine, check the Patreon page a couple hours after this broadcast, and I will supply a download link to Dusty Cart full EP of all original FM synth retro arcade music. So, yeah, it was great. Great to see everybody in here again. And I might as well, I think I'm just going to play the intro track one last time, or the intro screen one last time, just for the people who might have missed it at the beginning. And once again, if you want an opportunity to win the prize that I'm offering of 4 releases of your choice from my record label Records, electronic experimental music. And that includes vinyl, although the prize only allows you to choose 2 vinyl. So you don't get a choice of 4 vinyl, just 2 maximum. Or you could go for 4 CDs or 3 CDs, 1 vinyl, 2 CDs, 2 vinyl. It's up to you. Check out the website. But the contest is essentially if you can guess the name of every single video game that is shown on the new MAME Politics intro screen credits. If you can guess every single video game that's shown there, you win the prize. And whoever guesses it first, let me know over DM, or you can drop it in the MAME Politics Discord chat. And one of the other rules for the contest is it has to be in chronological order. So list the name of the games in chronological order that you see, including at the very end of the intro screen where the screen gets very tiny and you could barely see it. You could zoom in on them and easily identify what the games are. And just a hint, pretty much all the games that you're seeing on the intro screen are actual video captures from episodes of MAME Politics that you guys have already watched. So most of them are games we've already played. So they're not super hard to guess. maybe a few curveballs in there, maybe like two random ones that will be hard to pinpoint. But yeah, that contest will be indefinite, and first person to guess that correctly will get 4 record label records releases, either on vinyl or CD. So thank you, everybody. It's great to see everybody, and we'll do this again on Monday. If you didn't hear my schedule earlier, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday is the new schedule for MAME Politics at the same time that I'm doing it today, which is at 2 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So take care, everybody.